coffee with?
I don't know. I'm in charge of my husband. He's in charge of his own destiny. King's Fast. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, morning.
Good morning.
It's a wonderful building, very neat.
You know, you always think that you allow enough time for things.
Are you a time optimist?
I'm a time optimist, and I'm usually.
It's a Buffini expression, which I now use on my wife almost every day. She hates it.
I'm
Good to see you like it.
I'm really a very, for the most part, I'm a very timely person. But I have my annual physical this morning, and got in there at 8:30, and I really like my doctor, but he just was really chatty this morning. And, a guy by the name of Dr. Lepsch, Lepsch. He's at Northridge Eternal, and live streaming now, so hear my personal stuff. But
I'm not gonna ask anything deeper than that.
no. I mean, yeah. Now that I'm almost 66, there are all sorts of different things he wants me to talk to me about, and I we'll grab something at some point because the first thing I have to do is lose the weight that I know I need to lose.
We're gonna partner on something.
Yeah, you're gonna hold me accountable to.
I'll be your accountability.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
This is all one?
All one.
Okay.
All one. Thank you. Anyway, and you just as you get older, just different things. They start looking for different things. It's all the same.
It's all.
They all say listing overview on the top.
Well, how was your 100, not to take you away, but how was I didn't ask you, how was your 100 rounds of golf?
It was great.
100
It
holes.
was great. Yesterday was a perfect day for it.
Was it yesterday?
I
Okay.
played 100 holes of golf yesterday.
In one day.
To raise money for.
And then with the doctor.
That's right. I mean,
That's why it's
right.
a little late this morning.
Well, you get your own card. You just play one person. You just go. You just go.
Yeah, right.
The pin never comes out of the hole. But it was a perfect day. It was overcast, and so it never got really too hot.
Are you sore from it?
No.
No?
Well, sometimes it takes that into the 48 hours that you, which probably is what you're used to doing.
It's surprising. I actually play some of my best golf when I do this thing. This is 7th year.
Yeah.
Because I just don't think about it. I didn't hit one, shank the whole day. I hit the ball pretty solid the whole time. I posted something on Facebook last night. 100 holes, 7 birdies, 59 pars, 30 bogeys, 5 double bogeys, and a triple. That's as good as I'm going to do.
Was it over here?
Meadow Creek.
No, great.
So, but it was a lot of fun, and they, George gets a bunch of the football coaches over there, so a bunch of the football coaches were there, a couple of basketball coaches came over. So it's just fun. They were a little disappointed. They weren't as they didn't have as many golfers as they thought they wanted to. But anyway,
I have to have another bag just for the ball.
That's what a friend of mine posted, how many balls you lost. That's how I determined whether or not I had a good day or a bad day. Kind of thing.
How early did you start? Which end?
We started about 7:30, finished about 4:30.
Good for you.
But you all met Dennis.
Yeah, we did.
So Dennis is a really fine company, Howard Hanna, and I don't know if you gave the overview of who they are.
Not really.
They leading RE broker, one of the top leading RE brokers in the country. They just merged with Allen Tate, which is a big company in the North Carolina marketplace. They took over a company in Virginia Beach area, William Wood, long time independent company, snuck in there and took it away from Long and Foster. Long and Foster thought they had it, and then they just opened up a really cool property management office down in Lexington. Really cool,
Lexington,
Virginia.
Yeah, it's sort of a hybrid type of property management office. Our property management director is from Charlottesville, but kind of really grew up in Lexington. So she had an opportunity there, so to go ahead and chase it.
It's a really cool old inn.
Yeah.
That they converted into.
I know the site.
What was the name of it?
What's the Dutch Inn?
Yeah, the Dutch Inn.
Yeah.
It's right on the outskirts of the school.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yes, I'm familiar with I remember I was going to stay there for some reason, and I was looking at what hotels were available, and I took note of that one.
So anyway, Hovey, who is one of the principals at Hannah and I have gotten to know each other through leading our stuff. We've sat on panels together and things like that. So Dennis is here just kind of learning kind of what we do and stuff. So grateful that you're here.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah. So we're talking about listings on purpose. We're talking about listings because we need more of them. I don't know if you guys saw the third quarter market report today. Just came out.
Briefly,
And
under
inventories.
4 months.
Yeah, under 4 months. And, you know, at the same time, you know, I think it's, you know, as we'll talk about, it's being strategic about where you get the listings, because there's certainly some places that, you know, things aren't selling. I've been in situations just over the last couple of weeks where, you know, listing agents have taken things, we've done everything, and, you know, sellers aren't satisfied. Why is my house sold? One reason your house hasn't sold is because nothing in this marketplace in this price range has sold in the last 150 days. You know, no matter what we do, if we can't get, you know, people in there. But the reason I love teaching this is I really believe that, and again, you got to have buyer agents and you got to have listing agents. I mean, that's what makes the world go round. I was a person that if I never saw another buyer, it would be too soon. When I was an agent, I just didn't like having people in my car and me not knowing what was going to happen. Whereas if I had a listing, as soon as I went in the yard, I had however many thousands of realtors in Northern Virginia that were now working for me. Is the way I look at it, and it allowed me to create a much easier or much better game plan in regards to what I could expect, you know, in the pipeline and that kind of thing. I also believe that, you know, when you are successful in getting the right kinds of listings, your production goes up by about 35 to 40%. And the reason for that is you've got these listings, you've got these agents working for you, but you are going to get leads off the internet, or somebody's going to call them a sign, or that person who's selling their listing has to buy something else. And so it's not just one thing, it's oftentimes two. And I just think that makes, you know, all the difference. For me, when I was an agent 100 years ago, my goal was always to have 10 saleable listings in the pipeline. Not pending, not already under contract, but 10 listings. So if that was the case, and I knew that my productivity was going to stay consistent, that I wasn't going to ride the roller coaster, you know, of up and down, up and down. And so I just really, really worked hard at getting this. Nothing wrong with, you know, prospecting for buyers. I think it's just more difficult. To be perfectly honest, just to prospect for buyers. I mean, you can do open houses, you can do mailings into move up neighborhoods, you can, you know, target an apartment complex, that kind of thing. But going after listings is just, there's just more ways of doing it. And then once you get the listing, there are all sorts of things you can do with it. Not just to get that listing sold, but to generate new business. And we'll talk about that. And then tomorrow, we're going to talk about pricing listings, which is even more interesting in this marketplace. So why listings? We're prospecting for listings. Again, will result in buyers as well. You can use the listing to generate more buyers and sellers. There's no doubt that the agent, the company that has the listings, controls the market. And it's even true in the online industry that we're in now. You still have the listing. Yeah, it's you click the IDX button and it goes out to Realtor.com, it goes out to Zillow, it goes out to those listings. It's still your listing that's going out there. Mm-hmm. And the mindset in my mind is the fact that it doesn't matter where somebody finds that listing. When somebody, whether it's somebody without an agent or somebody with an agent brings a contract, I know I'm going to get paid. And so for me, I've never been one to be all upset about Zillow and Realtor.com and all these things, you know, marketing my listings. I personally think that for somebody to choose not to click the IDX button is a disservice to their seller. When you think about 90% of the people are going on the internet first to search for real estate. I want my seller's property to be wherever it can be, on other people's websites, on Zillow, on Realty. I don't care, however they find it. But my mindset, it's my mindset of the fact that that's where as we get into the, to the end of the year and we start talking about business planning, my mindset again was, how many listings can I get that are going to be saleable? I don't care where the people come from. I'm going to get a portion of that commission that comes on that sale. Also much easier, obviously, naturally. You get a listing agreement signed. That seller knows that you represent them, right? Whereas if you get an exclusive right to represent agreement signed by a buyer, you can't stick a sign in their chest that says, I'm represented by Roy Wheeler and Bob Hauser. I can put a sign in the yard and a lockbox on the door with a listing, but I can't do that with a buyer. It would be great if I could, because then they go into a new home project and I say, hey, Dennis, nice to meet you. How you doing? Great. Do you have a realtor? No, I don't. Well, why do you have a sticker on your chest that says I'm represented by Bob Hauser? Oh, yeah, about that. I did sign an agreement, that kind of thing. So it's just the natural, easy aspect of understanding that when I get a listing and I get it sold, I'm going to get paid was huge for me. And so I do believe that the agent company that has listings controls the market. Getting listings and getting them sold establishes a track record that will give you credibility with the prospective client. And that can be with a seller or a buyer. You sit down with a buyer and you kind of have one of those one-pagers, under contract, listed, blah, blah, and they see that you're active. And so there's a credibility that gets established there. We talk all the time about building rapport with people, gaining credibility with people, showing people we care. When you have an inventory of well-priced, good condition listings, they're going to sell. And people are going to see your sold signs go up. And so when they're driving through a neighborhood, they say, oh, I'm going to call that guy because whatever, I'm going to call that gal. And again, every other agent's working for you. I don't think a lot of people think about that. But once that listing goes on the market and the sign goes in the yard, you've got whatever it is, 10, 1,000, 1,200, whatever, however many realtors we have in this marketplace. They all are now working for you. Trying to help you get that sold. Now, it's our job to get that information out to those people so that they know, right? And whether it's how we do it in the MLS or whatever the case may be. And again, in this market, the key is reasonably priced houses in excellent condition. That's still true. Even though there's not as much inventory, property still has to be reasonably priced and has to be in good condition. We're seeing that. I don't think the market report is going to show it, although it did show. And I'll make a copy of that so you can see it. It did show that pendings are down. So as I've been talking about the fact that the market has quieted down this third quarter, especially July and August, for the quarter, pendings were less than they were a year ago. Solds were up, but that's really because those properties went under contract in June, July, and sold during the third quarter. So they're up. I had them send me, and I'll get it to you, Bob, as well. I had them send me they didn't include the new construction in it, but I had Ian and Leah send me something, trying to open up on my phone when I was in the doctor, and it just was gobbledygook. So I'll pull that up and we'll take a look at that. But the point being is, what I'm seeing out in the marketplace as I watch it is that properties 6 months ago that may not have even gone on the market because they would have sold through the company or whatever. I'm now seeing houses staying on the market. There's a house on Banbury in Greenbrier, and this is a very, a very small sample of the market. But we're looking to downsize at some point and move closer to our kids, and so we want one floor living. We don't need a lot of space. One full basement, so we want to, put a bed, private place down there for people.
My business.
Yeah, exactly. But so there's a house on Banbury in Greenbrier that we're going like that. It's still on the market. There's a house on Oxford over off of Roseville Drive. Still hasn't sold. Whereas 4 or 5 months ago, they would have been gone, right? So that says that there's adjustment going on, and that's why it's so important when we're talking about listings, that we're right on top of whatever's going on at that particular time. Because, 2 weeks ago, you might put a house on the market and feel pretty good about the price. And then positive or negative, you see something happening, you go, oh gosh, we underpriced it, or, oh, darn it, we missed the market. And again, that Rugby Avenue, Rose Hill Drive example, there was a house that, you guys have heard me talk about it, house that sold for $340, 4 months later came on the market for $795 and sold in 4 days or something. The renovation was extraordinary. They probably put $250,000 in, I'm sure. But they still turned a $240,000, plus, return on investment in a short period of time. That house right now is like the house on Oxford that's sitting there, right? So it's just about watching it. And that's why I think, it's so important. The hot sheet, the daily hot sheet, is so important for you to look at. If only just to breeze through it. Oh, let's see what went on in the market. I look at 2 things, what went on the market that day and what pended. And I can get a feel, just by doing that every day for 5 minutes, I can get a feel of what's going on overall in the marketplace. Question so far, just from an overview.
When you're in a listing, like, so I have an interest in the analytics. As a builder, I wanted to know, I made my money on underserved markets, and I wanted to know what was overserved. I wanted to know it by price range, and certainly by location. Does a normal seller, do they care, or do they want your 3 comps? Here are your 3 comps in the area. I know Mary Jo, she sold her house for blank. This is what I think mine's worth. Is that the normal dialogue, or do clients really do they want to understand? Do they want to know what the inventory is between $400,000 and $500,000?
The sellers like you, yes. But I would say that's an exception. It's a smaller percentage of people who really just want the basic information and tell me what it's going to sell for, and here's the range, and let's go.
Okay.
Right? For the person like you, and we'll talk about this as we go through this, for the person like you, the analytics become important. The sales price to tax assessment ratio, right?
Days on market, how fast it's selling.
Square footage, price per square foot, even though those are kind of moving targets, and that's why it's so important to know your client, because for some people, you can throw up all over them and they don't like it, right? That's way too much information. But other people give me as much as you got. Is that all you got? No. But anyway, so your source for listings, I don't know if this is in the handout or not.
Can I ask a question? I don't
Absolutely.
Feel free to participate, but do you all have exclusive listings here? Where, like, you don't have to, you said click the IDX button where you don't have to actually put it in the MLS, but you have to market it internally?
No, you can do what we call private exclusives.
Okay.
And what would normally happen in that situation, Dennis, is you have a listing agreement signed, but in the other remarks, it would say, property not to go in the MLS until a broker receives written permission from the seller. And so what that does.
Market it internally.
Yeah, that's what, and unfortunately, people abuse that.
Yeah.
There's reasons for it, and then there are reasons not for it.
Yeah.
The reasons not for it is because I want to sell through my company, because I think that's a disservice to the seller. They're not getting the full breadth of what their house might be. But, so the MLS here has to be in the MLS within 48 hours of the listing being signed.
Whether it's private or not?
Well, so if it's October 10th, they have to have it in. But if they have that in the remarks, then when they put it on the market on November 5th, the listing date was October 10th, and the car police force reaches out and says, hey, well, blah, 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 you have to send them a copy of the listing agreement showing that you had that from the seller that said you didn't have to put it in. So, and that, it happens pretty regularly. The other part of it, the second part of your question, is there are some companies, very few now, that don't click the IDX button when they put in the MLS. So it only shows up on the car MLS and their own website. It doesn't go out. They don't allow it to go out. I personally think that's ludicrous. I think it's, I believe that most of those.
Zillow, all the enhanced sites allow that?
No, it's the other way around. We allow it to go to Zillow, not Zillow allowing it. So when you click IDX, Information Data Exchange, that's what allows you to see.
Yeah, I'm surprised that Zillow allows the broker then to turn it into an IDX listing afterwards.
No, they don't turn it.
Oh,
It's just on their own website.
They never,
That's right, that's right. It just stays on their website, and I think it goes on my car, because that's our MLS and that's our website. So I think those are the only two places, I have to check.
So Co-Brook still have the ability to sell it?
Yes,
And no
oh yeah,
MLS.
it's still the MLS.
Okay.
They just aren't, they're not letting Zillow or
Huh.
Realtor.com have it. Wintergreen Real Estate used to be that way, they
Yeah.
ended up being forced not to. I think that Frank Harvey still doesn't click IDX.
Wouldn't surprise.
I'm not sure, but I think the Sotheby's broker here, I think doesn't. But he's got a completely different business model, the way he goes about it. Yeah. All right, so I don't think this is here, I'll get it to you, but the source for listings, the point I'm making here is when you're prospecting for listings, there's short-term ways to do it and there are long-term ways to do it. Short-term for me, I loved the first day of the month because all the expires. Everybody, you know, one little tip for you guys today, if you're listing something, don't let it expire on the 30th or 31st. Do it on the 24th or 25th or the 3rd or whatever, because there's so many agents that look at that just 2 days. They only look at it for 2 days, right? And hopefully you're going to remember that it's expiring and you're going to extend it and whatever. But I used to just, it was like, I couldn't wait. It's like, you know, Christmas as a realtor that I go into the office. And back then you had to go into the office and print it out, whatever. But I made my money on expired listings. Expired listings and geographic farming is where I hung my hat and did very, very well. And expireds are nice because they've already been listed with another company. So they've already decided that they need to be a realtor. They're just now deciding whether they need to stay with that realtor or go to another realtor. And if I've got, and for another day, when we talk about expireds and for sale by owners, if I've got a shtick, a good professional way of going about that, I can find out pretty quickly am I going to have a chance at this or not. And if I don't, I'm moving on, right?
Michael, let me
Sure.
interrupt.
No, that's right.
So, realtor rules, when that shows up, right, you got expired, it can oftentimes show up the same day as new.
Then you don't call it.
But how do you, I mean, you know, tell me that process. You wait a day?
No, the process is expired. I immediately go in and put in, I choose active status, and I put that address in. If it shows up again, I don't call it.
I got you, okay.
If it doesn't, then, I mean.
It's free game.
And very simple. Hey, Bob, it's Michael Guthrie. How are you?
Oh, your listing expired.
Yeah, so your listing expired. I'm just curious as to whether or not you're going to relist it, and if so, are you going to use another realtor? Are you considering using another realtor? A lot of times they have no idea their listing has expired.
Yeah.
You're telling them.
Right.
That's not good to the other agent, right? But that's all it is. I saw it expired. Wanted to find out if you're thinking about relisting. If you are you going to consider other realtors? Well, I haven't decided yet. The reason I'm calling is I'd like to earn the right to be somebody that you would consider. Is there a time we can get together? So, well, I think we're going to list with the same company, but you went, okay, great. Have you signed anything yet? No, I haven't signed extension yet. Well, hey, I'd like to come over just for an hour. It's a win-win for you. I'm going to share with you some things that I think might help you market your house to be sold. Even if you decide to stay with the other company, maybe I give you some ideas that you can tell them to try. If not, maybe I show you that I do things differently and maybe you do want to make a change. And I'd love the opportunity. I'd welcome the opportunity to earn the right to be the realtor that you would choose. And it can be as simple as that. The answer that I loved getting was, well, we're going to, you know, it's October. We're going to take it off and put it back on the market after the first year. I love that answer because that meant nobody else was going to remember to call, but I was. So I would say, Bob, I totally get that. When do you think? Well, we're going to wait till after, you know, first year. Okay, how about if I call you on the 5th of January? That'd be great. I'll shoot you a note with my business card. And then I'm in my calendar saying, you know, what time is best for you? And at 5 o'clock on January 5th, I was on the phone with them. Hey, Bob, it's Michael Guthrie from blah, blah, blah. And they were stunned that I remembered, one, and two, that I called exactly at the time that I told them.
I'm sure you sent them a card. And
Oh, yeah. I mean, just all that, you know, stuff. But the point being is, most people don't have their system set up that way. They're going for the expired, they didn't get it, they're moving on to the next one. I'm going to wait. And then the other thing you can say to them, well, let me ask you a question. If I had a buyer that I've come across next week that's looking for your house, would you still be willing to sell it at the price you have it listed for? Well, yeah. Well, how about if I come over and talk to you, and maybe what we can do, I know you're going to take it off the market for a while, but maybe we could sign something that would allow me to market it for you quietly until you're ready to put it back on the MLS. Now I'm running to do exactly what I just said. We're gonna sign a listing. You're not gonna put in the MLS until you tell me on January 5th or 8th or whatever. And over these next few months, I'm gonna, see if I can find somebody that would, buy it in under your terms. And I'm giving the right to earn the right with them before they ever put it back in the market. I can work it out for it to expire at the end of the year. So, hey, no commitment to me. Just for the next couple of months, you're gonna let me market this thing and see if I can find somebody who wants to buy it while it's not in the MLS. And then, come back on the market in January. Hopefully you decide that you like what I've done and give me an opportunity to be the agent that works with you moving forward.
How do you do actual listing?
Yeah, you just do a regular listing.
Yeah.
And again, just in other terms, you put property not to be listed in the MLS until a broker receives written permission from the seller. And then you've got a listing that's and it's got you talk to Logan and Logan has a buyer. It's got the whole information in there. They're going to pay us, 6% or whatever the commission is. And we're going to co-op this much out. And so I can run across Joe Schmo from Samuel Real Estate and be talking to him and say, I'm looking for you. We see these emails all the time, right? Mm-hmm. I've got a buyer that's ready to buy and looking, we can't find anything on the MLS and it runs into yours. And so you call that agent that emailed it and say, hey, I've got a listing that it's not on the market right now, but I think I can arrange for you to see it. Would you like to? And then you call the seller and say, I've got this agent. Yeah.
So I'm taking you back in time. So I'm assuming if you're chasing these expires in some geographic area, you're not going after nothing Long and Foster expires.
Roy Wheeler. I'll go after Long and Foster all day.
No, I meant back in the old.
Oh.
back in rent.
No, and even here, if Logan has a listing, it expires.
You're not chasing a Roy Wheeler agent.
What I would do, whoever's listening live stream as well. Hey Logan, Bob Hauser here. Hey, I don't know if you realize this, but your listing on such and such expired. And Logan goes, oh my gosh, didn't really never. One, it's not good for you to do to Logan, and two, it doesn't make us look good.
No, I agree.
It looks like we don't know one hand.
But other than that, it's fair game.
Fair game. Yeah.
You don't care if it's so and so who just sold your house. No. One of your listings a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, exactly.
All fairs and nothing.
And I will say this too. There are times where you're going to get an opportunity to list a property that they may have used a Roy Wheeler agent in the past, but they came to you. And you may not even know it till later, right? My strategy in that situation would be, oh crap, this is awkward. But before I put it on the market, I would call that agent and just say, hey, look, I know this is awkward. These people came to me. They wanted to use me. And it might even be if they mention the person's name, right? And you say, well, gosh, you want to work with them? No, we want to work with you. Well, that's their decision. But what I would encourage is, and it's nothing ethic that says you have to do it. What I encourage is to let that agent know that before it goes on the MLS so that they don't just wake up in the morning and drink their first sip of coffee and go, wait a minute, that address looks familiar.
Why do
Is
I
there
feel
a
that
time
pain?
frame on that?
What do you mean by time frame?
When they lost that listing?
No,
And they come to you.
it could be a week.
But years, is that?
Even, from my standpoint, even if it's years, I just think it's great to just let somebody know, hey, this is coming on the market. I know that you had it at one point. I just want you to know that before you come to it. You don't have to do it. I think it just makes it easier, and then they can say, well, how did it happen? Well, these people are old friends of mine and I just got in the business and they really want me to get a good start in the business. And so they call me, whatever it is. So anyway, obviously for sale by owners, they can be short-term or long-term, quite honestly. The longer term, the better for me, because the longer term, that means I'm going to get them. Short-term, they're, feisty and they're going to sell it themselves and that kind of, and they got all sorts of realtors calling them once. And they're feisty and say, no, I'm doing this myself, and the realtors never call again. Statistics show that if I could be in contact with that for sale by owner by the third time, it's down to one or two other agents that are continuing to make the calls. And the whole thing from my standpoint, for sale by owners, how can I help you get your house sold? That's the mantra. Dennis, how can I help you get your house sold? Well, I don't want to use a realtor. No, I'm not asking, how can I help you get your house sold without a realtor being involved? Well, why would you do that? Well, because you're in my marketplace and I like to know what's going on. And quite honestly, if at some point you decide that you choose to go with a realtor, I would like the opportunity to be one of the realtors that you call. You're not hardcore on them. You're just saying, I'd love to be one of the people that you consider. And as you provide them information, helping them do whatever they're doing, you begin to build that rapport, you begin to get that credibility, and you show people you care. Most people make decisions with their heart, not their head. And all things come equal, right? There you go, I really like this guy. This other person, has all the numbers, whatever, but this guy was prepared. I really like him. I think we work well with him. And all of a sudden, you're getting business that this person over here probably should have gotten just because of their, track record and that kind of thing. Cold, warm calling, open houses, long-term farming. One that a lot of people don't do because it takes more effort is the absentee owners.
Is there a database for that?
Yeah, you go into tax records and talk to Chris or Mary, and you can go in and you can search by, non-occupant owners. And what that does is, take an area like Mill Creek, and you create a database of the people who don't live there but own it. The information you send them, whether it's the electronic newsletter that we do every month, whether it's a 6-month summary of what's going on in the market or an end of year summary report, that may be the only thing they get as it relates to what's going on in the market. So they may not know that their house has gone up by 30% in the last 3 years or whatever. And you start showing them, and all of a sudden they call you up and say, Mike, is this really true that this house in Mill Creek sold for such and such? You may be the only person, because most agents send stuff in, friend, neighbor, resident, whatever, and it's going to whoever's in there. It's not going to the person who owns the house.
Right.
But if you go and do a spreadsheet and create a database for those absentee owners and you start giving them something on a regular basis, again, you can earn the right, to have an opportunity to work with those folks.
Who around this office can teach me how to do farm?
Well,
You only get really good.
yeah, it'll be good. I teach geographic farming, so I'll teach that class.
You will.
Yeah, Chris can certainly help you with the
Mechanics?
the mechanics of the databases is what's, like with geographic farm, what you're doing is you're trying to find an area where there's, you'd like for it to be a 10% turnover. Gets down to 5 or 6 maybe, depending on the price and stuff, but there are 300 homes in that neighborhood. You'd like to see 30 of them turning over every year, year and a half. Because what your goal is, at least initially, is I just want 25% of that. I just want 1 out of every 4. So if there are 30 of them, if I get 7 or 8 listings because of this effort, then it's well worth my time and energy.
Well, I don't, that's not necessarily a core to what I want to do, but I live in Glenmore.
Right.
And there's a lot of people in there who certainly buy and sell. They're influencers. They're people who, CEOs of businesses. And I feel like it's remiss if I don't do it. At some level, but I need to understand the mechanics, the economics, how much does it cost.
Glenmore's a great example. It can cost very little now, which is really nice, because if you can figure out a way to get people's email addresses and things like that, you can stay in touch with people pretty well. But what I would say is that let's use Glenmore as an example. We all know there are a bunch of agents that are in Glenmore.
Yeah.
One, you don't want to send any mailings into their house. So if you're doing a postcard campaign, you make sure they're deleted so they're not getting them. But 2, you do what I call the swamp fox technique of geographic farming, and that's old Francis Marion, American Revolution, coming out of the woods, the Patriot, Mel Gibson, kind of thing, where you're in and out. They don't even, boom, boom. And what you're doing is you're actually building relationships with people in Glenmore where the principal agents don't even know you're doing it. And the key is, again, making decisions with the heart. As you build those relationships and you give them information you need, all of a sudden maybe they've done business with those folks before, but they're going, yeah, but nobody's ever taken this much interest in us like this guy has or like this gal has, right? And so it's like, we just sent a bunch of mailings out just in neighborhoods saying, hey, now's the time to think about selling your home. we do, corporately, just to kind of get a feel for what's going on. And we got a few responses, nothing much. But the way those really work is if you send something like that in to a Glenmore or whatever, we're looking for the right kind of listings, blah, blah, blah. But then you follow that up by meeting that person. Say, I hope you got my postcard. That changes everything. Everybody can get the mail, but the person that's really, it's like an election. You can get all this stuff in the mail, but all of a sudden that politician is knocking at your door and shaking your hand. There's a much better chance you're going to vote for them because they actually took the time to come and meet you, right? Well, it's the same thing in real estate. I send mailings in. When I come in and say, hey, I'm Logan, I've been sending you some information. I just want to put a name with a face and tell you that I'd love to help you or anybody that you know, now or in your future, with real estate, and like to stay in touch with you. I hope you like the things we're getting. If you think of things that you'd like to know about, I'd like to be, we've been talking about, I'd like to be the source of the source. Anything related, real estate related, you call me. Whether it's, you need to refer something to, to Howard Hanna down in Virginia Beach.
We'll take it.
Yeah, or, you think about refinancing your house, I can get you with the right people, right? Just happened a couple days ago. School teacher at Regent School. Guys on the board there overheard her say that she is renting, but at some point she'd love to buy. He emailed me and said, would you be willing to meet with this young woman? Just thinking about it. Absolutely. So Jay and I sat down and did an hour, 15 minutes with her about what she should be thinking about and getting ready for buying a house and finding out whether she qualifies or whatever. And she was over the moon. So grateful for the time that we took, but I'm over the moon with the fact that this guy called me and whatever. So, he'll get a note from me. Hey, Don, thanks so much. We had a great meeting with Megan, and we're going to help her in whatever way we can. More people I guess get that they know that they can reach out. So, but especially in those guys, I would say it's true in every geographic farm. I believe that in geographic farm, people should get something from you once a month. Something, whether it's a mailing or the regular newsletter or whatever, once a month, and then 4 times a year, they need to hear from you personally. 3 times by phone, once face-to-face. So every quarter. So you take Glenmore, say you take a 300 home piece of it, or you take 200 people, you just go through the thing, you say, yeah, I at least know these people, right? They're the influencers, right? Guy I heard at Buffini's Masterminds talked about, what did he say? Something about influencers. Anyway, basically what you just said, putting yourself in places where you get to be shoulder to shoulder with influencers. Because if you're with those folks and you build that rapport and capability, their network's bigger than mine.
But they're going to talk. People are going to respect when the boss says, "Yeah, this is who I work with."
Yeah.
Right. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Right. People assume that you're the boss. You know something.
Yeah.
So if you can get them to utter your name, I think that.
Yeah. So let's just you take 300 and you divide that by 80, because in a quarter there's usually 90 days, and in a quarter there's going to be 10 days you're not going to do it. You divide 300 by 80, that means I'm making 3-4 calls a day is what that comes down to. So that I can go through that database of 300 every quarter. Now you may also have your Buffini A plus B people, say it's 30 or 40. Those people get added into that. So 300 plus 40, 340 divided by 80. Now I'm up to, between 4 and 5. But if I commit in the calendar week, 5 days a week or whatever it is, then I'm gonna spend an hour prospecting. I can get those 4 or 5 calls done. The Popeyes, the face-to-face, it takes a little bit more time, but I can make those phone calls. I just have to commit to doing it. Having a time where I stop everything else and I get someplace, and right now is when I'm making phone calls and I'm reaching out to those people. And I'm having those conversations, and I have those conversations, and depending on how they go, I'm writing them a note behind it. Dear Bob, great talking with you today. I hope the lacrosse tournament up in Bel Air, Maryland goes well this weekend. Look forward to hearing how your kids do. So by the time he gets back from his weekend in Bel Air, he's got this note from me saying, enjoyed the call, blah, blah, something. It's a double touch, right? In my church, we have a fellows program. And the fellows program, is a group of postgraduate students, all out of college. It's usually between 13 and 16 of them. And they live in people's houses, and they get mentored by somebody, and they work part-time for a company. They tutor at abundant life. I mean, the schedule is just insane. They take a couple seminary classes. It's crazy. They don't even realize what they learned until like a year or two later when it starts sort of kicking in, because they never had time to really process it. The point being is, we get this one pager, 11 by 17, pictures of all the fellows, who they're living with, who their mentor is, where they're working. So I'm in Colorado for that wedding a couple weeks ago. I took that with me. I wrote postcards to every one of those kids, addressed to the people that they're living with. So it's such and such care of whatever. And if I knew their mentor or their job person, I added in, boy, you're really lucky to work for that person. It was like a quadruple touch because it was on my postcard. So there's a good chance that the people who are hosting them saw it first. Oh, look, Michael wrote this nice note to this mentor, to the fellow. They read it. They tell the person they're working with or being mentored by, and all of a sudden, going back to what you said, that postcard may touch 4 or 5 people. You know. Now, here's the craziness. I'm off track a little bit, but it's fine. It's fine. Not to be crass, but the movie Animal House. And for these days, I almost hate to use this example anymore because of everything that's going on in our world. But that one scene where the woman's incapacitated and the guy's standing there trying to decide whether he's going to do something stupid or do the right thing. He's got the devil on one shoulder, he's got the angel on the other. Did you see the movie?
Mhm.
I unfortunately saw the movie.
Long time.
Yeah, well, it was so long ago that Dottie and I were just married, and we double dated with a kid from high school on his date when I was doing your life. And then about 15 minutes we went, what in the world are we doing this movie? Anyway, the one person saying, go ahead, and the other said, no, you're a good guy, you're not going to do it. Well, the point of the whole analogy is, I'm writing these notes to the fellow for all the right reasons. I want them to know that there's an elder in the church that cares enough about them to write a note and say, we're glad you're here, blah, blah, blah. But it's also good business. It's a double-edged sword. But, the evil part of me says, oh, the only reason you're doing this is you're hoping that, the host family will call you sometime because they need real estate help or something. And the good person, no, you're doing this because you're caring for these people, right? Whatever reason is, it works. And I've been doing it for 36 years this way. And it works, and it get what I call the warm fuzzies of the business. So what I love about this business, a couple of people make the biggest decision they make, but we can care for them in a way, and serve them in a way that they just say, man, I've never had anybody. It makes you feel good. There's a secondary aspect to it that's cool. Corporate calling, again, if you know people in the marketplace, especially HR people, a lot of people don't spend a lot of time doing that. I'm banging my head up. I mean, if it's the last thing I do, I'm going to get all the business at UVA athletics. All my relationships there, and yet HR still refers it to other people. The coaches refer it to me because I built a relationship with them. But if it goes to HR, not ever seen one come to our company from HR. Now, we've helped lots of coaches buy and sell real estate, but never like, the Carl Williams, the Broncos, you never get those because they go to HR and they go out to whoever they want to give it to. But it's just, I'm not going to stop. It's like that, hitting the rock for the 100th time. And it finally splits open. It wasn't the 100th time it split it open. It was the 99 other times you just, whatever. So corporate calling, people in HR instances. The one person you don't want to call is Christy Phillips at Willow Tree, because she is the wife of Rod Phillips, who, used to be here and is now at Remax. When not to, there's just certain things that you just know not even to try, right? Because you're just not going to get that. Even though I know the owner of Willow Tree, sort of, I just know that that's never going to be. So I'm not going to spend my time on that. I'm going to go after, go over and try to figure out UVA or try to figure out CFA or, whatever. Building your sphere of influence, again, the more and more you remind people you're in the business, the people that you know, and graciously say that you could use their help. There are people in your sphere of influence that want to see you be successful. There's no doubt about it. I mean, it's just no doubt. And then consistent direct mail. Again, the geographic or the listing side, you want to be consistently sending things in to keep people, you front of mind with people. You're in a particular area and it doesn't have to be, it could be a just listed, or it could be pull this house open, or it could be a 6-month sales summary or a year summary, or hey, send me your email address and enter into fresh turkey from the rooters for Thanksgiving. And the reason for that is I'm building up the email distribution list, because the more of those I get, the less expensive, I may be able to cut off the mailings. I can get people feeling good about, that they like to get things from electronically. Obviously, the best prospecting source is your customer, clients, people you know. I like the term consistent creativity. I also like the term polite persistence. CC or PP. Either way, people are just constantly being reminded that I'm in the business, that we're here to help. How can we be of service to you? In the smallest way or in the largest way, it doesn't matter. We're going to want to serve you in whatever way we can. All right. Questions about any of that? All right, so we get to the appointment, and we're not going to obviously get through all this today, but let me run through some things with you here. I personally think, especially if you're not too busy yet, I like the two-step approach versus the one-step approach. Two-step approach is you go over and do a meet and greet, basically. I'd love to come over and take a look at your house. That way, when I come back for the appointment, I'll know what your house looks like and be able to give you more specific information than me just coming into your house for the first time. Now, if you're good and you're busy and you've got a lot of stuff, you can move yourself toward that one step. I just personally think that the two-step is great because it gives you an opportunity to discover condition, make sure the location of the property doesn't backdoor road or whatever. Gives you a chance to confirm the public records. And you talk. It's really just a meet and greet. Who owns the property, whatever. You can go to public records, and in that situation, look at the public records, and it says, and get some of those things explained. Again, this won't come as a surprise to you. It allows you to get to know the seller. It's the time where you build rapport with them. It may be the time when you find that these aren't people you want to work with. And one of two things happens in that situation. You just realize this is just not going to, we're just oil and water. I can feel it. And so you come back and say, hey, Logan, I got a referral for you. You refer it to another agent. Which is what I call.
Gee, thanks, Bob.
Yeah. but you may work with them. That's true. That's the whole point. Bob's going to take that monkey off his back. He's going to put it on yours. Now, Bob says to you, hey, if you get the same feeling about it, don't feel like you got to take this. But it's amazing how many times it's somebody different. And it's much better to get a referral and have somebody working with them than you not get it because, you just didn't mesh, right? Or the house is in terrible condition and they want too much money for it. Great to do that in 15 or 20 minutes and then, call them back and say, you know what, I really appreciate the opportunity, but I'm not the right person for you. This is just, this is worse than going to the dentist. Just not going to do it. Finding out time and reason for moving. Does the seller have preconceived ideas about marketing strategy, price, ads, open houses? Are they interviewing other agents? And one thing that I've given you here, and this is all, by the way, in the roadmap for success that we have for you guys online. Dennis, we've got about a 70-page training manual that people can have all the different outlines and everything.
That's good, yeah.
But on the last page here, agent interview questions. Obviously, make sure that, did you not get that one?
I didn't. I'm here.
Obviously, you want to make sure that these are your questions. This is the sample or an idea, right? But if you can answer all these things positively, what you're doing is you're causing the. Do you not have that one either?
I don't think so.
Bottom page. There you go. There you go. What you're doing is instead of saying anything disparaging about another realtor, what you're saying is, I understand you're interviewing other realtors. You just say, well, I've got a list of questions that I'm going to answer for you this afternoon or this evening. And I think these are good questions for you to ask anybody else.
Oh, yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah, and so what that does is it puts the other agents off guard because they may not be prepared to answer those questions. You came in prepared to ask them, or answer, but, market share, how do you advertise, all those kind of things. You're now giving that seller a cheat sheet to asking questions that, a lot of companies don't do any of this stuff. And they're gonna have to say, we don't do that.
Where am I getting?
Yeah. That's a great question. You probably should, that might be a good homework assignment for AHA one day, to have everybody kind of just, the answer, obviously we're gonna represent the client. We're second in the marketplace. We have, Edmond right now has about 115 homes listed. We probably have about 185 or so total amongst all the other offices. Hopefully you can answer the question why you're a third company. 90-day marketing plan. Chris can help with that. You don't want to shoot everything out the first couple of weeks because then you got nothing. But you got email blasts and Facebook posts and Real Estate Weekly and Open House.
But there's a standard game plan that the company has that you get.
Yeah.
You can walk in personalized.
Yeah.
You're not dependent on your own.
Right. And if there are things that you want to do differently, you reach out to us and let us know. Chris has got a bunch of different handouts on why we're leader, those kinds of things that you can use in that. Chris is our marketing person, if you haven't picked that up. Anyway, so, are you interviewing other agents? Oh, well, by the way, one of the things I'm going to do is there's a lot of things that I'm going to try to answer for you when we're together. I want to leave a copy of this with you so that you can ask other agents. And that way, you're not saying that I know this company doesn't do this, or I know this company's going to overprice your listing and try to walk you down over several months. You can craft the questions so that they can get those answers themselves. Are there any special needs as it relates to property? Maybe a dog that has to be put aside in the listing, or you may have an elderly person that's living in the house, that is immobile, those kinds of things. Special needs. And then, so that's what you're doing in the first step, right?
Okay.
The first time you do it. Then, after you've done that, you begin to gather the information, tax records, CMA from MLS. This is a little bit outdated because Realty PC is no longer around, but I think all of you have been taught Toolkit, right? You done Toolkit with Mary yet? It's an online.
I know that I've seen it. I just don't feel like I never felt like I was quite ready for it.
Okay. Well, when you feel ready, Mary will walk you through that. Once you get through the initial stages of Paragon, that's all you really need to have to do that. And it's great because you get this, export that, in about 5 minutes, you've got 18 pages.
I did one on my own. It's not that hard. I actually figured it out. So
I use that sheet.
Let me see.
There we go. Got it. Thank you.
Your own geographic farm report. So obviously, if you're farming in Glenmore and you've already started to make some records, here this is.
Yeah.
There you go. There's the gather one. Anyway, you got geographic area. You do your own notes, that kind of thing, because you may know of properties that sold privately that the seller doesn't know about. That's a huge thing in differentiating yourself from somebody else. You may not know, but the house over here on Dover Lane sold, never went on the market, sold for X on such and such. Oh, I didn't know that.
You know that through the MLS.
No, you wouldn't do it. You'd know it just from your own knowledge of the marketplace. Yeah. And you can go into tax records too. I mean, if your electors are here.
That would be laborious through every home in your area.
Yeah, except you can search it by last sale date.
Oh, you can?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you can put it in there and search it do an Excel, and you can search it by.
I've been in there a lot. I've never had a reason to look it up that way.
Yeah. Talk to other agents at the office, call agents with low compromise in the area. And then, in previewing the subject property, you're going to take notes about the house. And this, again, would be in the first step about asking for old sales brochures, talk about existing loan information, previewing other homes. One of the things that can differentiate yourself is you take a photo of the property and then you do your toolkit presentation, and on the front of it's already got a picture of the house. So that it's personalized to them. It doesn't look like it's just generic. It is generic. Yeah. But you've just added their picture to the front of it to make it look like it's their own personalized scenario. Market analysis, including active listings, under contract sold, and expires. what didn't sell. Again, checking for private sales. We talked about this a few months ago in one of the AHA classes. We do a thing on Tuesday mornings called Agent Helping Agents. That I kind of do, and we kind of do things. We use some of the leading RE Institute stuff. And one of the things they talked about, which I really liked, is having the actives, the pendings, the solds, and the expires on 4 different sheets, and then see what the seller said, which of these houses looks most like yours? And oftentimes it's the expired because they want to be overpriced or whatever, and you're not having to tell them that. You know, gosh, well, that's the same model as me. Oh yeah, we're better. They didn't sell. No, well, why is that? Well, they were up here in this price. Whereas here's one that's like yours, is sold and pending. That's 10% less than what you whatever. And sometimes that's all it takes. It's not just you saying that it needs to be less. The numbers are substantiated. Current market information, current interest rates, is the seller versus buyer's market, any current trends, and giving the seller a high and low range of sellability. What you'll have from me every quarter is my analysis of the market. After the car market report comes out, I write up on my analysis of the market. And it's a little bit more in depth than the car one. I try to go into some other things. And we always use that. So in October, which is what we're in, we just do maybe it'll be November. Anyway, the next newsletter, when Chris updates it, it'll have that analysis in it. And that could be added into your listing presentation. My broker, and since I don't compete with you all, my broker writes us up every quarter, and this is where the market is, and if your house fits into this particular scenario, that kind of thing. And the last thing I'll do, because we're running out of time, is the actual presentation. The more prepared you are, the better the presentation. There's just no doubt about it. If you feel prepared, you're going to be more comfortable, you're going to be more relaxed, and you're going to come across more natural, right? You're going to pick up on signals because you're not so worried about them when they ask you a question you don't have the answer to. And knowledge, I think, builds confidence. Confidence allows you to be comfortable, natural, not canned. Even if you use a track, even if you're using, sort of the same thing every time, you can do that in a natural sort of way. For me, as I work in talking to agents that come here, you guys are all in this boat, there's like 5 or 6 things that I'm going to make sure that when we talk about you coming to the company that I bring up. Name recognition, market share, training, people, management, culture. Those 6 things, it may come in different places depending on how the conversation is going, but I've been doing it long enough that I kind of know what I want to say, and I can pick up on what somebody's saying and move them in that direction, making sure I answer their questions. So even though I've got some things that I'm going to make sure I touch on, it doesn't come across as, okay, that box is checked, okay, that box is checked, okay, that box is checked. Again, naturalness promotes assurance. And the bottom line is, what you want to do is prepare yourself in a way that most agents don't. Because some agents are just going to go in there and wing it. They think they're, whatever. And you come in with a professional presentation and answering all their concerns, safe islanding people. Safe islanding people, and what that means is I'm working through something and everything's going great, and all of a sudden I get resistance. Okay, we were good till now on the island, but now we're out in the deep end a little bit, and you seem to be panicking. So let's talk about that. Whether it's commission, whether it's I don't do open houses, whether it's whatever. All of a sudden you're not as comfortable. What caused you to get? Well, I've heard that open houses are really the way to go. And that's what's going to solve my problem. Well, let's talk about that. You live in Mineral, right? And you're out in the middle of nowhere. And I can promise you that open houses aren't going to sell your house because you're not going to get people through it. Because people aren't going to take the time to get there. You're certainly not going to be able to drive them there by the signs. And so to make you comfortable with this, we're going to have to figure out other ways to drive buyers to your market versus open houses. And this is what I recommend. And I go, okay, that makes sense. Okay, so I've gotten it out of the deep end, now we're on another island and we're moving forward. Commission, we get into that thing and we talk about all that and explain why and that kind of thing and hopefully get them there. But anyway, the point is this whole safe islanding throughout this process of getting them to the end of actually signing the listing. It could be, I don't want you to list my house for a year. To me, that's the easiest one. Well, how long do you want to list it for? Well, I don't want to list it for more than three or 4 months. Okay, that's no problem with me. If we, so we're in agreement, we determine on price, you're ready to list it with me. If I do it for 3 or 4 months, yeah, that's great, super. Because I believe, and this is again where I show confidence, I believe that in 3 months, if your house hasn't sold, you're going to see everything I've done to try to make it, so you'll extend it. But I'm going to bet on the fact that that's the case. If not, you've got the right to, to back away and do something different. I would never lose a listing. Now, if it's 30 days, 60 days, but if it's 90 days or more, I'm not losing that listing. If that's the only thing that's causing them not to sign with me, 90 days.
The economics, for the company, for the agent, it's okay. 90 days is enough to get your money back.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to do the marketing of it. Hopefully, we're going to get other things from it. But the bottom line is, I'm going to bet on you that you're going to do a good job, that we won't lose that listing. That if it's got to take 120, 150 days, they're going to stick with you because you did what you said you were going to do. The problem is when people say they're going to do something and they don't. I don't hear from them, that kind of stuff. Yeah. So.
I got a quick question.
Yeah.
Someone on the bottom of that one, the interview person who said, I do not reduce my commissions. And I got the arguments and why we would do that. But I see ads for, we only charge 1%.
Yeah.
Without trashing another company, what's a good response to that?
That will, again, okay,
Asking these questions.
I did not reduce my list commissions. Yeah. What of these things do they not have? Okay, they're going to do it 1%. Why is it? Well, because they only have 3 listings. They're trying to just, you don't have to say this.
Yeah.
But, ask them how many listings they have. If they only have 3 or 4 listings, well, that's the reason they're only charging 1% because they don't have any listings, they're trying to get some.
Mm-hmm.
Or what kind of advertising they do? Oh, they don't do advertising. Oh, that makes some sense as to why they're charging 1%. And the one that I love to use is they must not think they're worth what they get paid.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what do you mean? I said, well, if you're asking them or they're even telling you they're going to reduce their commission, they obviously don't think they're worth it. What they do is worth it to you.
Mm-hmm.
So let me ask you a question. If they're not thinking they're worth what they're being paid, how much quicker are they going to give your money away? Don't you want to have somebody that's, strong in negotiating, believes in what they're doing, believes in what they're going to do is get your house sold. If that person's going to take less, when we start talking about somebody coming in a low offer, how quickly are they going to be trying to get you to come down there because they don't care?
They're going to spend a lot of time on it.
Right.
They're not for 1%. So.
Well, not only that, but the point is they don't feel strong about their money. They're certainly not going to feel strong about your money.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's one of the biggest.
Well, it's the same argument we give them why we don't down the commission is like, I'm going to spend a lot of time working for you, and if I just negotiated away my commission, that quickly.
If they had as many listings as we do, and they're going to take as much time to market the house to get it sold,
Right.
they couldn't do it for 1%. What they're hoping is they're just going to throw as many out there as they can and get paid 1%, but a lot of times without having to do the work. Right?
Yeah.
So, but that's where the questions come in. If it comes up, you can answer honestly with those kinds of things.
Yeah.
Isn't it ultimately, we can make it that much, the same amount or more through our effective effort.
I'd answer it a different way. Let's not talk about the commission you're saving. Let's talk about how much money you want to realize from this sale. So you're selling out for $400,000. You got a $200,000 mortgage. 6%, 24, 3. That's 170. You want to realize $176,000 out of the sale. If I can get you your price at 6%, and you get your 176, then we both win, right? Whereas you choose to go with this company because you're going to save $4,000 or $8,000, and it doesn't sell over a certain amount of time, and now you sell it for $365. You actually lost money by trying to save the commission. That's really the way you want to go with it. Is what is your bottom line here?
I've never done it.
Right.
That would be my first instinct. Because let's talk about your objective and how these two align with each other or don't.
Yep.
My effort is some of them bringing a lot of experience, some of them bringing great company, and we're bringing out a full-fledged marketing effort. And we're gonna help you achieve your financial objective.
And I think the other thing that's really important too is don't forget that the commission that we're giving 3% of it to somebody else.
Right.
So it's really not all this money.
As he is,
Yeah.
right, they're 1%, but they're really 4%.
That's right.
Yeah.
So it's really, that's exactly right. We're only talking about two.
400,000,
And-
eight grand.
The other thing you do from an objection handling technique, if you know that that's who you're competing with, go in, search their souls, and search list price to sales price.
Yeah.
And the ratio,
Yeah.
let's just say it's 94%.
Mhm.
And ours is 97.8. You lost money.
Yeah.
If everything is equal on the table, we're gonna sell your house at 97.8% of what we listed for versus them at 96. You thought you were saving 2%, you actually lost 0.8%.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, these are good.
all right,
Good.
yeah.
There's a company that advertises, fairly new company, with someone kind of so-called famous, that says that this team will sell and market your house within the time frame that you set and the price that you want, or they will buy it. How do they do that?
So two responses to that. The ad in the paper, the ad in the TV is just, again, just between us. It also says that they have 300 buyer leads. If you run their report, they don't have 50 sales. They got 300 buyers. And why don't they have more than 50 sales? I think that's good. But the second part is what they do is you take a $400,000 house, right? And it's listed fair market value at $400,000. What they're saying is that if they don't sell their house, they're going to buy it. But what they're buying it for is $300,000. Because what they do is do what's called a guaranteed sale. At the end of the day, if we don't sell your house, we'll and I don't know if there's a number is, let's say it's 15%.
And this is in the fine print.
Well, they're going to
Well,
sign a guaranteed sale
right,
agreement,
right.
but it's in the fine, but let's say it's 15%. I think that's what it used to be when I was doing these with Warren Foster. So that'd be 340. They're betting on the fact that if it's fair market at 300, if they have to buy it at 340, they'll be able to sell it and not lose any money. So what they're saying is, if we don't sell your house, we'll buy it. But they're not buying it at fair market value. They're buying it based on time of transaction, all those kind of things. I think right now I think that's a very scary thing to be promising, because I think the market is so sort of in an interesting place. But that's how they do
That's
it.
how they do it.
They get them to sign saying that it's usually 180 days maybe.
Yeah.
In 180 days, that they'll buy your house for $340,000. The two places that this could work is if I'm buying a new home and I have to be non-contingent, and my numbers say that I can still buy this new home, if I have to sell at $340,000, I can still buy this $600,000 house here 6 months from now, because they're going to pay me this money.
Right.
That's one place that you might think about doing it. The second place, the way that it works for them, for the company, is now they've got a very motivated seller. Because the seller said they've agreed that in 180 days they're going to sell 340. So if they get an offer 360,
Right.
there's much better chance that they're going to accept 360 than a seller that hasn't signed this. So they actually put themselves in a position to have a motivated seller.
I mean, with the guaranteed setup.
Right, because their bottom line is 340. They think they should get 385. They get 360 to 100. That's 20,000 more than we're going to get 3 months from now. Maybe we should think about taking this.
And as an agent, I'd be surprised if the agent did any money on that transaction.
The agent doesn't make that.
Yeah, I think so.
No.
I tell you what, reload buyers, right? I've been around the business long enough. Back when this was popular, I almost never heard anybody. You bring that number up to a client, and they throw up on you.
Yep.
But you tell them, you're going to get 340.
Yep.
That's what you meant when you said it was a guaranteed sale. But the reload buyers, you understand. I mean, stick in military. You're getting transferred. You're leaving. You're moving. You're heading out that day, and the wife's back home with the kids, and that has some value.
Yep.
I don't like the fact. I can tell you, as a realtor, I don't want to be competing with my client over who gets to make the money. I'm here to make you money.
Right.
They have a conflict of interest. They may make more money by buying it if it doesn't sell.
Right.
I don't want to be in that position as a realtor. I want whatever we can make, I'm gonna make it as much as I can. That's yours.
Yeah.
I get paid my part, here it is, it's crystal clear what I get paid. But the rest is yours.
Long and Foster, when I was back in the heyday, they literally had a guaranteed savings of
Well, right.
and they had 2 or 3 people that, that's all they did, is go around and make these agreements with people. Because they wanted to sell their house and buy a new house, and Long and Foster back then, because the market's changed so much, I guess it's not the case anymore, but they pretty much had control over the new home product as well. So they had, like you said, there was a reason, a positive reason for them to be in that, because they were selling these over here that they wouldn't have been able to sell if they weren't guaranteed. So
Yeah, new homes can be a funny animal with contingencies and all. But they back off the interest. You got to factor in you're going to own the house. If you take it,
carry costs.
If you're Logan and you're the guaranteed buyer, you may have repairs. You may have something where you got to build those in.
Right.
Because you have to realize your price unless you fix it up. You pay your interest. You're still going to pay a 6% commission. People are still.
And you may get a contract that falls through, and now you start all over again for another. Legitimate contract that people fall through for whatever reason. Now you got 3 or 4 months.
Yeah, the model that I'm talking about is this one where these people are just buying a house.
Yep.
That one I think is an
Open door.
Yeah, we'll see.
And I haven't seen how really that functions and why people
You're
are
down to
gonna do
about
that.
300 listings in your MLS right now, year over year.
Yeah.
Like it's a tight listing market. That's when it does well. We started to see that switch where I am in the Hampton Roads area, where our listing volume or our listing unit number is now starting to creep up over where it was last year. So we're not even